Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James, and despite having the last name Beastie, I am not an extreme guy. Yet, I still reviewed the Yes All-In Extreme, a board that has remained almost the same except for the flex, but has changed names 3 times now. It started out as the Pizel, then moved to the All Out, and now this year in 2026, it is the All-In Extreme. Same shape, same everything, just a different flex for 2026 that's a little more stiff. This is a very versatile one-board quiver that is right on the border of all mountain and free ride with a little more easy directional float than, let's say, the standard Extreme for 2026. A little stiffer flex, a little more directional ride. That is super fun to carve, grips really well off the front foot in hard to icy snow, has a good setback on board for easy directional float in powder, and rides centered pretty well on groomers too. It's a very good all-rounder, and my only real complaint is it doesn't fit boot sizes under 10 very well. So my complaint could be a positive for you. So I've ridden this in the past in a 58 when it was called other names and had a slightly softer flex and got it in a wide variety of conditions, and I did the same this time around. Everything from thick, wet, messy snow on top of a block of snow mint to some decent powder to some good groomers. And I really now understand this board super well. Of course, I rode this with my Union Force bindings and Nitro Team TLS boots. I also compared it against the All-In, the Standard on Ink, the Yes Pick Your Line and Pick Your Line Extreme. If you want to see those in-depth comparisons, check out our reviews on Patreon for paid members only. As you know, this is an honest, objective review from an average rider's perspective for you, the consumer. There is zero brand oversight from Yes on these reviews, and I can do that thanks to our sponsor, Blower Board Shop, a great shop who's been selling to snowboarders much longer than most resorts have been allowing snowboarders. They're a family-run business who's making a push to compete with the larger online stores out there, and they're doing a great job in terms of support, price matching, and shipping. So if you want to support honest, objective reviews and snowboarding in general, buy through our links to Blower Board Shop. It really helps. Thanks. And when it comes to sizing, I liked last year's 58 a little better than this year's 58 just because of the stiffer flex. But let's put it this way. This flex works great for my 185 to 195 pounds, about 190 at the time I was reviewing this, but it does not work that well for my size 9 boots. And as you get to the width over the inserts, it's much wider than the waist width would lead you to believe. So this is best for size 10 and up. I'd say the ideal size is 10.5 to 11 for this 58. That's where this really shines. And with the stiffer flex, I wasn't able to twist and engage it. And I think it's okay to go over the recommended weight range, especially with this new flex. It's much stiffer. It can handle a bigger rider better than it could in the past. And when it comes to shape, this is tapered and directional. There's 6 millimeters of taper. Directional twins don't have taper, but this does have a somewhat directional twin feel to it, and it doesn't feel as tapered and directional as it looks. If you go to the reference stance on the board at 22.5 inches, you're centered on side cut. However, if you're talking setback on board versus setback on side cut, you're looking at 1.25 inches back from center of board. So there is a little more nose happening than tail when you're riding on reference, unlike the standard in the Standard Extreme. If you're feeling more directional, or you just want to set it all the way back for a powder day, which is mainly what these setback inserts are for, you can get 3.5 inches back from center of board at a 22.5 inch stance width as well. So I love that the setback matches the reference. So you can really put yourself in a lot of different places on this board and get a different feel each time you do. I would love though if they did a 21.5 reference stance like they do with the Standard and the Standard on Ink. I think that's better for most riders out there, including myself these days. The free the taint days are long over, and while Baggy pants are back. I'm not seeing the wide stance yet. And that's just bad on your joints too. It fucks up your hips, your knees, and your ankles. So do what you want with the baggy pants, but stay away from that wide stance. And when it comes to camber profile, you have a decent amount of camber. There's a lot more camber here than the all-in and the standard. This is more like the standard extreme. It has camber well past the inserts, but there still is a good bit of early rise before the nose and tail, so it doesn't have that ultra technical locked in feel like full camber does. And I think intermediates on up to experts can ride this. I'd say it leans a little more on the committed intermediate side just because of the stiffer flex this year. Makes it harder to twist the board and initiate a turn as easy, but overall it's not that hard to skid a turn if you get off your game, and it doesn't feel like it has a lot of effective edge. They're saying 118.1 centimeters, but they're not really counting the early rise. They're saying the same thing for the all-in, which has a lot more early rise. So it just goes to show you, specs don't always give you the accurate picture. When it comes to edge hold, you got something interesting going on, especially with this indention right here. This just grips so well if you weight off your front foot in hard snow. The back has a much more mellow indention that's similar to the standard and standard extreme, but the standard extreme has the same indention on each side, so you can center weight, front foot, back foot weight it in hard snow and it works fine. This really washes out in harder snow, but when the snow softens up, it doesn't. So if you front foot weight it and you see a lot of hard snow, this could be a great fit. It's a good bit stiffer than the all out that it replaced. Down in the tail, it's pretty stiff. The nose is a little softer, but still on the stiffer side. And overall, it's got a good pop to it. It takes a little more work than the all-in, but if you put that work in, you'll get more back. And it's a fun board to ollie and to launch off stuff. The buttering in the tail definitely takes a little more work, but the buttering in the nose is a little easier. This rides switch really well. If you really like riding switch, but you want a one board quiver to set back to, you'd probably like the standard extreme better, but for a tapered directional board with 6 mil of taper, this rides switch incredibly well. This would be a great pipe board, especially for those who really engage their front foot and really like to drive wall to wall and boost out. But this will also carve the walls pretty well as long as you're spec'd correctly for the board. Not a jib board, but a great jump board. This is really easy to micro adjust for those weird side hits that often have uneven snow that you might have to weave in and out of to get to that little hit. This does it fine. Again, if you're spec'd correctly, not like me, but if you're going into small to big kickers in the park, this can handle them all really well. And when it comes to uneven snow, this is better in soft uneven snow than the all out from last year and the Pizel from the year before. And the only differentiator between this and the two past models is it's a little stiffer. This does very well in hard uneven snow too, and I'm pretty impressed with this as an all-day ride. When it comes to turning, this initiates a turn pretty easy if you're the right size boot. Like I said, this works really well for size 10 up riders, and they can initiate a turn pretty easy. For me, it felt a little slow. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, just because of this indention in the waist helps it turn faster than it would be if it was just a normal side cut. And when I got it on edge, I found that this 7.7 meter side cut was really balanced and it could do a little bit of everything. You can see there's a pretty easy entry point before it gets a little more aggressive between the feet, and it allows you to go straight better and feels really stable doing so. And then if you put more pressure and try to carve across the groomers or circle carve, it starts to engage this indention here and it allows you to do that. So, you know, longer drawn out S turns and carves work really well. Medium radius turns across the groomer to circle carve turns all work very well with this. And that's something I've always loved with Yes boards. They never give you a side cut that is just one kind of thing. They really know how to compromise less across the turning radius world. And like I said and edge hold. In harder snow, you need to front foot weight your turns, and that's where this board shines. It's best for a front foot weight turner, but in medium to soft snow, you can weight your turns any way you please, and you never feel that tapered, washy feel once you get past hard snow and into medium to medium soft. The spring out of the turn is really solid. It's not the poppiest and driviest of boards, but this stiffer flex really allows you to hold a carve more. And when you put more speed and more strength, you really bend your knees, really flex this board into the carve, it really springs out well. Where I think the past 2 years, it was a little easier for less aggressive riders and slower speed carves, but still I think average riders like myself would still have a fun time carving this, and it was very satisfying for me. This stiffer flex, along with this easy entry into the side cut, really allows for good straight line. When it comes to base glide, this is very good. It's die cut, so if you gash it here, it's not going to look pretty, but it keeps its speed pretty well. And it's not quite the fastest of fast, but it's definitely upper tier. And when it comes to powder and you're using these setback inserts here, you're getting that extra setback on board of 3.5 inches at a 22.5 inch stance width. You get pretty easy directional float. That's like most traditional freeride boards out there. I like the past models with the softer flex because you could lean into that tail and wheelie up a little bit easier. But even with this extra camber, it floats so much easier than the all-in when set all the way back. When on reference, the all-in floats a little bit better. So if you like a more centered ride in powder, you might like that. But if you like more pop and drive, and you know how to operate a full camber board in powder, this camber with a little bit of early rise might be even more fun. I will say I was surprised that the Yes standard with all that early rise, even though it has a good bit less sat back on board, had an easier float. I think it was just because of that early rise, less camber, and a softer flex, so it was easier to lean back and get the board to tilt up without putting a lot of stress on your rear leg. And overall, personally, with my smaller boot size, I preferred the previous models, the All Out and the Paizel with that softer flex. But I think most people will actually prefer this stiffer flex. This flex finally matches Yes's flex rating. It's much closer now, where before they always overrated their flex and the boards are always softer. It made people unsure about purchasing it. Now you know what you're getting. And overall, this is a really fun all mountain to freeride board. It does a lot more than your average freeride board in terms of riding centered and getting more of an aggressive mountain freestyle feel, but then feels just like a normal freeride board when you set it all the way back. So you got a lot of versatility here. I wouldn't mind more symmetry in the indention and the edge hold. I don't like that more aggressive and then more mild indention here. I would like more consistency. But if you're a front foot weighted turner, you're going to love this.